on.
Welcome everyone. Today we have the City of San Antonio Aviation Department Parking and Ground Transportation Division Chauffeur Training presentation. We'll have a brief overview of the job requirements. You all should have received a chauffeur manual, and you can refer to that manual for any details and other information that may not have been covered here in this presentation. So let's get started. Of course, remember, one of the most important job requirements is safety. We want everyone to be safe. The driver, passengers, and all other motorists here on airport property. So remember, when you come to work physically and mentally alert. Get enough rest before you come to work. And always remember, bring your driver's license with you. And we have designated parking areas for employees here. We have an employee lot before the exit plaza for the garage. And we can also park in the oversized parking lot where the buses are kept. When you come to work, check the bulletin boards, check your emails and your mailbox. You don't want to be left out of the loop of any important information you might need to know for the day. And when you start your shift, you'll get your equipment after you've clocked in on the CABA clock. You'll get your radio and your keys from the people in the office. You'll also pick up a bus inspection report, and you'll fill out the radio log and the vehicle log when they give you your bus number and your radio. Let's take a look at our radio. Here we have a Harris XL 185 radio. The parking division and chauffeurs use channel 1, which is AP Park, for all our communications over the radio. Here we have a set of keys that we use for the buses. You'll also be given a key to take out to use your bus. And here we have a copy of the inspection report. You can fill out some of the items at the beginning of the day or throughout the day as you go along, or even at the end of the day you'll need to. Over here in this section below, you'll be able to fill out the number of gallons fueled or any discrepancies that you find on the bus so that it can be reported and noted. And up here you'll put your bus number and the date. You'll fill your name in, and according to your shift, we have 3 shifts, 1, 2, and 3. You'll put your shift number here. When you start your route for the day, you'll put in your beginning mileage. Here you'll put in your beginning engine hours, and the time you start your shift and end your shift will be filled in over here. And of course, before you start your route for the day, remember, you're going to do both an exterior and interior inspection of your vehicle. And here we have some of the major critical things that need to be checked before you start your route. You have your headlights, tail lights, turn signals, clearance lights, and brake lights, and mirrors. Be sure to check your tires, the amount of air in them, and the tread as well. Check for exterior damage. You can look under your vehicle to check and see if there are fuel leaks or any other leaks. And be sure to lift the hood of the bus and check the oil and for any other fluid, so it could be noted on your bus inspection report. You can also check the operation of the lift. And we also have a rear license plate light and lower passenger door light that can be checked. Now let's go through the interior bus inspection. Always make sure your parking brake is in working condition. Check your interior lights. Check to see if the seats are clean, not damaged. You can also check the fire extinguisher expiration date and the ventilation system. And over here I'd like to note that there are a couple of differences, minor differences between some of the buses. Bus 1760 and 1768 do not have rear air conditioner temperature controls, whereas all the other buses do. So that's a minor difference. Also on the dashboard of 1760 and 1768, there is no lift control, but the lift can be operated without a lift control. And be sure, of course, to check your brakes and horn. Make sure your windshield wipers are functional, that the steering mechanism works. Check your instrument gauges to make sure they're all working. And of course, the front door operation. Look at the cleanliness of the bus. Check to make sure your handrail and straps are all functional. And of course, again, we have the lift operation. And if you should note any discrepancy on the bus that would make your bus non-functional, be sure to radio the command center and let them know in case they need to give you a different bus. And remember again, safety is the most important. Don't ever drive if you're physically impaired. And of course, working at the airport, we have a lot of airport police, law enforcement here to ensure safety of the public and all stakeholders. Be sure to cooperate with them. If they have you deviate from your route, if you have to detour, as soon as possible, let the command center know about your deviation or any other issue that might arise from that. And again, we have another reminder, safety is of the utmost priority. Remember, it's not how fast you get there, it's how safe you get there. I remember one of my favorite instructors used to tell me, if you're in a rush, you may not get there at all. So remember, drive safely. Another thing to be aware of is to pay attention. You have a lot of things to do, a lot of things to pay attention to, and you have to keep your focus on quite a few things. So remember, keep your focus on the road and other motorists, traffic conditions and other conditions you might encounter on the road. And remember, also pay attention to people in your bus. Your passengers often get up, move around and walk around as the bus is in motion. Most of them do not use their seatbelts. They may get up to adjust their luggage, they may have forgotten something, and often children will jump around. So keep this in mind when you're driving. You know, remind them, because you may have to brake hard, you may have to go around a curve, and you don't want anyone losing their balance and falling. Now, some of our buses have straps on the handrails, not all of them do. And the division requires that buses that do not have handrail straps do not allow passengers to stand on the bus. If you should have any issue with this, just call the command center and let them know. And of course, another great danger on the bus is too many obstructions. You might have a passenger utilizing a walker get on the bus. If possible, have the passenger fold the walker. Another danger is when children are brought onto the bus in the strollers. I have many times seen passengers lift their children in the stroller and almost have the baby fall out of the stroller, and we want to avoid any injuries to anyone. You can ask passengers if they could please fold the stroller and carry the child up whenever possible. Another thing is when the stroller is folded, in case you have to brake hard in the event of an accident, the parents won't lose control of the stroller and have the stroller and baby go flying up. So we want to keep everyone safe, and also in the event of an emergency, it also enables other passengers to alight more freely if there are no obstructions or a minimal amount of obstructions in the aisle. So our greatest thing that we're here for is to serve the customers. We want them to love San Antonio Airport, and San Antonio Airport has a lot to love. We have great service, great people here. Let's greet customers with a smile and offer assistance. You'll find a lot of passengers have not parked in the green or red lots before. And we've seen many times when passengers return and they're not able to find their vehicles because they don't know where they parked. When people come to the airport, they have so many things on their mind. They're in a rush thinking about their flights and their tickets and documents. They may forget to take account of where they parked, especially if they're not familiar with the area. So you can remind them of which bus stop they parked in, how to find their bus, the bus and their vehicle when they come back, and this will avoid a lot of mishaps when passengers can't find their bus when they get back. We also have some information slips which also explain to the passengers where to find the bus when they come back at arrivals level. You know, give them all the information they need and they'll appreciate you. And of course, working here at the airport, you'll likely encounter celebrities from time to time, but let's be considerate of their privacy. So don't request an autograph from them, and don't ask to take a selfie with them if you're on duty. And of course, never announce over the radio that you have a celebrity on your bus. You'll also see during peak seasons, such as summer vacation, spring break, Thanksgiving, and Christmas holiday, the buses will fill up quite fast. So if a bus is filled to capacity, notify the passengers that another bus will be there. You can radio and request other passengers, other buses to come and pick up the passengers. Let them know where you've left them, whether it's at arrivals or at which bus stop you were not able to pick them up. And that way other bus drivers can fill in the slack and make sure all passengers are taken care of. Now, we hope this never occurs, but we all need to be prepared for any eventuality. In the event of smoke or fire on the bus, remember, the most important of all is the safety of everyone on board the bus. Don't turn off your engine until everyone has been evacuated from the bus, if that is possible. Open the doors, make sure you get your passengers out. And if there's a fire, make sure your passengers are standing at least 200 feet upwind of the fire and smoke. If you have a passenger utilizing a wheelchair who must use the lift to evacuate the bus, don't turn off the engine if you can until the lift has been operated and the passenger evacuated. In the event of another emergency and the engine must be turned off, the lift does have a manual option so that the passenger can alight using the lift. Be familiar with the operation of the fire extinguisher, and of course, as soon as possible, notify the command center and the supervisors of any emergency. Check for injuries with all your passengers so that medical help can be obtained if needed. Let's look at the use of emergency triangles. When you're stopped for a breakdown or emergency, remember to put on your hazard lights if operable. And if you're on a one-way street, place the triangles 10, 100, and 200 feet behind the bus. Now, if you're on a two-way street, place the triangles 10 feet in front of and behind the bus, and then another one 100 feet behind the bus. If you're able, always move the bus first to a safer place to stop, whenever possible. Now, there are a few things we want to avoid. One of them is don't drive your bus with the front door open whenever possible. Now, our Ford E450s do not have a brake interlock, so typically you're not going to be able to move the bus unless the bus is in park, and you won't be able to open the door unless the bus is in park. Now, that can be overridden by using the red switch, which is over the door. So in the event of emergency, you can open the doors, have the doors open, and move the bus. And also, try to avoid bringing your tires and rims in contact with the curb. We suggest that you align the bus 10 to 14 inches within a curb, and that will enable people to easily alight and board the bus without tripping. And this will also help you to avoid hitting passengers waiting on the curb with your mirrors. So always keep an eye on your mirrors, placement of the passengers on the curb. If you see children running around, wait until it's safe to pull up to the curb. And remember, smoking is not permitted when you're on duty. And we have designated spots for smoking outside the office and in other areas of the airport. Another thing to remember is don't use your cell phone bus while you're operating the vehicle. Don't use your cell phone while operating the vehicle. When the bus is in motion, don't be on your phone. And earbud use is also not permitted when the bus is in motion. Now, you may be on your phone and use your phone when the bus is stopped, but be alert for any approaching passengers. We don't want to make them wait for our personal business, unless, of course, there's an emergency. And you can refer to the City Administrative Directives 1.8 and 4.8. Now let's take a look at the operation of the lift. Now remember, stop your bus adjacent to the curb or wait for the curb if necessary. There are a couple of bus stops in the green lot where it's not easy to deploy the lift. And remember, apply your parking brake first, and unless it's bus 1760 and 1768, turn on the lift switch. And before you operate the lift, walk to the back of your bus and lift up the seats, and that way the placement of the wheelchair will be ready for the passenger when they board. So after you've done the previous things, walk to the back of your bus. You can open the door to the lift. And then over here we have a toggle switch. So just flip the switch up to turn on the lift power. And here we have the lift operation device. So unhook that lift control to begin to operate the lift. First, you'll unfold the lift and then press the down button to bring the lift down. And when you're bringing the passenger in, you just reverse the actions to raise it up and then fold the lift. Remember, do not allow standees to ride on the lift. It's very dangerous and could cause a passenger to be injured. A wheelchair will be provided for passengers who are not able to use the stairs. Just call the command center and they'll provide the wheelchair for you. If perhaps you have passengers on board who need to get to the terminal or back to the green lot, another bus can also assist. Now let's look at wheelchair securement. All wheelchairs should be secured using a 3 or 4-point securement practice. Now, if you look here, we have bus stop number 3 in the green lot, and you'll notice we have a very narrow sidewalk here. And the near side curb or sidewalk here is also on the slant, which makes deploying the lift a little bit more difficult. So you'll have to be aware of that. So make sure that the lift can be deployed at the stop. If not, deploy your lift, move the bus away, and allow enough space for the lift to be deployed and for the passenger to have enough room to maneuver to get onto the lift. Now, our lifts on the Ford E450s can hold up to 800 pounds, but in spite of this, you cannot board more than 1 passenger and 1 wheelchair on the bus. Ensure that if the wheelchair has brakes, that the brakes have been applied. And if it's a motorized wheelchair, have the passenger turn the wheelchair off. The lifts also have a seatbelt that can be used to prevent the wheelchair and passenger from sliding off the lift. You can also, once the passengers are on board, ask the passenger if they would like to use a seatbelt. Now, we are not allowed to force the passenger to use a seatbelt unless all passengers on the bus must use their seatbelts as well. And here we have one of our drivers releasing the straps from the rear bar and placing them on the floor. And you'll notice we have 4 straps secured and slid into the securement area on the floor of the bus. Let's take a moment to look at some safe driving tips. And all of these tips should become habit. Remember to always use your directional signals when changing lanes or turning. And when you approach or depart from the bus stops, also use your directional signals. And that'll let other motorists know what you're planning to do. Never forget to keep your eyes on the doors as passengers are alighting and boarding the bus. Those doors do hurt. When you keep your eyes on the doors, you'll prevent a passenger being injured by a closing door or an opening door. When you're at a stoplight, after the light turns from red to green, remember, look both ways and proceed with caution. There are many people who always want to make that yellow light, or many who intentionally run the red light, and you want to be safe. And remember, stop at all the stop signs, stop at all the pedestrian crosswalks, and remember to follow the speed limits. And again, we have another reminder to allow a distance of no more than 10 to 14 inches from the curb. This will make it easier for passengers to board and alight. It'll avoid many tripping issues, and it'll also help to keep your mirror from coming in contact with passengers and people on the curb. And remember, especially at departures, where we often drop people off from the second lane, you want to make sure that your passengers have a safe place to exit. You want to make sure that there are no cars coming up on the right side of the bus as your passengers are getting off. If you drop your passengers off at the midpoint at the terminals, at the departure terminals, there are yellow bars there which will prevent vehicles coming up from the right side of the bus and injuring any passengers. But in any case, always watch for any cars, as many cars will pull up and cut in front of you or leave, and you don't want any passengers to be injured. Now remember, one of the things you should never do is tailgate. Let's keep a safe following distance. When you've been stopped behind traffic, allow the vehicle in front of you to move 15 feet before you take off. And this will allow you to be able to stop in the moment and safely in case the vehicle in front of you should stop unexpectedly. Always scan at least one block ahead, and that way you can be prepared for any traffic situations or obstructions in the roadway. Anticipate the sequence of the lights, and that way you won't have to brake unexpectedly and throw your passengers. And remember again, always drive within the posted speed limits. Now, no incident or accident is too small to report. Remember, if you have an accident, always report your accident. Now let's take a look at our circulation pattern within the green lot and the red lot. Now the route for the green lot starts up at departures area here. Here we see the midpoint of departures area. And when you leave departures, you'll follow Airport Boulevard around and make a left turn at the light on D. Howard Way and go back into the lane which leads to commercial traffic only and follow around to our bus stop, which is at the end of Terminal B. Once you leave arrivals level, you'll follow Airport Boulevard around again, make a right turn on D. Howard Way, and a left turn on John Saunders and into the green lot. Remember to follow the pattern of making a right turn and servicing stops 1, stop 2, stop 3, and stop 4. And once you've picked up passengers at bus stop 4, you'll leave the green lot through the same bus entrance, make a right turn on John Saunders, a right on D. Howard Way, all the way into the terminals, bear to the right to use the 2 right lanes up to departures. Now let's take a look at the red lot bus route. Again, the bus route starts at departures. Here we have the midpoint at departures, and you'll follow this route to go back down to arrivals level. Use the lanes which go between the garage entry plaza and the road that leads into non-commercial traffic arrivals area. Once you've left arrivals, you'll follow Airport Boulevard around, continue down Airport Boulevard, and make a left turn at the left turn lane right across from Air Safety, and make a right on this little service road here to the light on Northern Boulevard. Then make a left turn on Northern Boulevard down to the red lot and into the red lot. And you'll stop at bus stop 5 and bus stop 6. Once you've picked up your passengers here at stop 6, you'll reverse your route, make a left turn on Northern Boulevard, a right on the little service road, a left at the cutaway here, and follow the road around up to departures level. Well, let's take a look at emergency procedures. And of course, we hope we won't have to use these procedures, but we must be prepared for any eventuality. Now, if you have an emergency evacuation of the bus, remember, use your front door, or if you have to, use the lift if a passenger is not able to go down the steps. You also have an option of using the emergency exit window, for which you'll likely need the assistance of other passengers or personnel. As a last resort, you may carry a passenger around your shoulders if possible, but this of course is a last resort. Now in the airport, suspicious packages are very important. If you see a suspicious package or luggage left at any bus stop, remember to radio 807 or 803 at the command center and follow instructions. Let's take a look at life-threatening situations. In the event of a holdup, hijacking, altercation, or disturbance, first measure the severity of the problem. If possible, call the command center and speak with 807 or 803 and let them know you have a 911 situation. If you're not able to communicate with them in this manner, you can make a distress call on Channel 4, which is Airport Emergency Channel. If this is not possible, you can key your radio and keep it keyed in so others can hear your conversation, can hear what's happening on your bus, and can make that call for you. If you can, stop the shuttle safely, leave the bus door open so people can exit, other people and emergency personnel can enter. Turn your hazard lights on if possible and wait for help. In case you're ever impaired by a health-related issue, again, call the command center and speak with 807 or 803, which is a senior cashier or supervisor, to get help. If you're not able to get through to them right away, turn on Channel 4, which is the Airport Emergency Channel, and communicate with them. Stop your bus safely, leave the shuttle door, and that way emergency personnel will be able to access the bus and offer help. Turn your hazard lights on if possible, and you can also ask another passenger for assistance and wait for your help. Now, in the event of a bomb threat, there will be an announcement that will sound something like, "Attention all drivers, Mr. Brown is at Terminal A, follow approved protocol." Mr. Brown signals a bomb threat, and the Terminal A lets you know where the bomb threat is. If you happen to be in the green lot or anywhere you want to avoid the terminals, stay in the green lot. And you also explain to your passengers, there's a situation going on. We'll be remaining in the green lot until we're notified that we can proceed to the terminal. And similarly, in the event of an active shooter, you'll hear another announcement, "Attention all bus drivers, Mr. Green is at Terminal B, followed approved protocol." Mr. Green reminds us of the gun. Remember, avoid the terminal. If you're in the green lot, stay in the green lot, and let your passengers know that you'll be proceeding to the terminal whenever you're given the go-ahead. Now, what should we do when we have weather-related emergencies? Now, in the event of a severe thunderstorm, stay in your shuttle for protection. And during limited roadway visibility, park the bus until it's safe to continue. In the event of a hailstorm, park the shuttle inside the long-term garage close to elevators P6 and P7, which intersect with row G on level 1. And the way to reach this is when you drive through the garage entry plaza, enter the garage through the very first entryway into the garage. And we have the same instructions for tornadoes. If you're close to the long-term garage, park the shuttle inside the long-term garage close to those elevators, P6 and P7 by row G on level 1. If you're not able to make it there and you're already at departures or close to departures, park your bus and use the terminal building restrooms as a tornado shelter. And here you can see the bus inside the garage here, And here are elevators P6 and P7. And you'll note up on the column here, row G on level 1. And remember, if it's flooding, only 2 feet of water can carry away a vehicle. So avoid a flood. Detour if necessary. And normally we don't drop off and pick up at vehicles inside the green lot, but if in an event of heavy rain or other weather conditions, ensure customers are dropped off by their vehicles. And here we come to the end of the shift. When you're ending your shift, call the office, or the office will call you to remind you that it's time to end the shift. When you park your bus, check your ending mileage and your ending engine hours to note it on your bus inspection report. And as you come in, you'll turn in your radio and key, and you'll sign out the radio log and the vehicle log, and you'll finish filling in your bus inspection report. And don't forget to clock out on the CABA clock. And there we have it. Thank you again so much for being with us this morning at our chauffeur training.